Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for the positive support over the last week since the launch of the first episode. It's today. It's really meaningful to me to have the privilege to introduce our next guest on Realizing Rural, the podcast is centered around delving into the heart and soul of rural life in South Carolina. Today, we have the honor and privilege of speaking with Bob Snead, who is the CEO of the Palmetto Chamber, who really brings a wealth of experience and passion for the community development to our conversation. Bob is a native of Charleston, South Carolina, whose journey has taken him on a remarkable path of artistic exploration, community engagement, and now to Barnwell, South Carolina. And we're happy to have him and his family here located in Barnwell. He brings a strong foundation in the arts and now turns his attention to helping businesses and leaders across our communities in Barnwell and Allendale counties hone their skills necessary to compete in today's environment. So, Bob, thanks for joining. Welcome in.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is great. I appreciate your time. I know your time is valuable. So let's just dig right in. You spent some time in Charleston. You founded the Redux Contemporary Art Center. Tell us a little bit about that journey and kind of how you ended up where you are today.
Yeah, so Redux was a project that I started with college friends. I was at the College of Charleston at the time. This was in I was in college from '98 to 2002, and so I was in the art department there, and there wasn't a lot of opportunities for us to put our artwork out there in the world, and so we decided to start an art center there in Charleston. It was an old piano factory, so it was Maurice Fox of Fox Music. If folks know that kind of local business in the Charleston, they're also in Columbia. They're kind of throughout the state. So, but Maurice Fox owned the building. It was their piano factory or piano warehouse where they would refurbish pianos, and so there was all of this lacquer all over the floor when we first moved into that space. And then we did all of the work ourselves. We were artists, so we felt like we could kind of take over the world and do whatever we wanted, and kind of create anything we wanted to see. And so that kind of young, naive ambition, we started that space, created studios that artists could rent out. So we had I think 16 artist studios in that space, and that kind of afforded us the ability to have an art center, because they rented out the space, including ourselves as artists in that space, and then that gave us the ability to kind of to pay the rent and pay the kind of core overhead, and then we started doing grant writing and to be able to do a lot of the programming. So we got funding from like the state and Warhol Foundation, other kind of bigger foundations across the state, and to be able to make it happen. And then as things go, when you start out something, especially nonprofit world, I got burnt out and then used grad school, so to kind of parachute out of Charleston for a bit. So I went up to grad school in 2005. So I did that for 3 years after college, and went to Yale in New Haven, Connecticut. Did painting and printmaking there. Did that for a couple years, and then eventually hit the road. Traveled cross country in a transit bus with a couple of friends, living like hippies,
Okay.
as they do, and then and really explored the whole country. So we got to go up to Alaska, down into Mexico, and kind of everything in between. And then we would do community projects while we were traveling, and then landed in New Orleans. And then New Orleans, we got stuck there for a decade almost, and then made our way in 2020 to Barnwell. So my mom unfortunately passed away in 2019, and she left me this beautiful house right here on Main Street in Barnwell. And the pandemic was rough in New Orleans for us, and so it was like, well, let's move to Barnwell and see what Barnwell's like. My mom loved it, and we spent a little time here before moving, but wanted to kind of complete her dream of finishing this beautiful 1880s house on Main Street, and so started working on that in 2020, and then eventually moved. Found this job popped up at the Innovation Center, and I was like, oh, that'd be kind of fun to like make some stuff happen here in Barnwell, and use some of my art skills to create a space and support businesses. So it's been really awesome. I've loved the journey here, and then eventually my predecessor, Terry Smith, who's awesome organizer. She retired, and then I took over the reins of the chamber, who's the sort of lead with when it comes to the Innovation Center. So
Yeah, so for
that's the
that,
journey in short. It's not that
yeah, man,
short.
that's awesome. That's awesome. It's you know, it doesn't take long interacting with you to realize that you bring really a wealth of kind of skills and knowledge to the area that's really unique. And I think it's that part of that backstory is important for people to know and understand kind of your backstory and where you come from, because of the unique things that you bring to the table for our community. That the house on Main Street is I know it's still a working a working process, but man, it's what you've been able to do in such a short amount of time is unbelievable. So that's an awesome kind of thing right there on Main Street as well. Very very unique. The now
Thank you,
talk
thank
let's
you.
talk a little bit about the Innovation Center, because I know that's kind of where you got your start in January of 2022. Let's talk just a little bit about kind of the state of where it was, maybe just for a few minutes, and then kind of the bit from the building to the programming, and then kind of just a snapshot of where it is now, and then we can kind of dig into some of those programmings as we move forward as well.
Yeah, so the Innovation Center, it was hatched by Terry Smith and Don Alexander, your father, who really wanted to see this as a space to support businesses and really drive the local economy. So here in Barnwell, similar to a lot of small towns across rural South Carolina, you have a downtown that is depressed, that has seen better days, that really needs some revitalization and support, and businesses that need that support as well to be able to thrive here. And they had the foresight to start the Innovation Center and kind of get the seed going. They got a big grant from the USDA Rural Business Development Administration or grant program. Really awesome program for those if they don't know about that program. It has been a godsend for us in terms of our support, and the people at USDA are super supportive of what we're doing here. Have been really key to our growth and the growth of businesses that we've been supporting. But yeah, so I came into the space, and it was just a blank slate. So it was an empty, I mean, there was some furniture
Kind
staged,
of remind
and
you of the Redux days, right? You kind of
yeah,
got to
yeah,
put your
yeah,
stamp on it.
definitely. Yeah, exactly. So, we got to come in, and it was, there was something there. So yeah, similar to that piano factory. I didn't have to chip up like lacquer off the floor, so that was really nice. But it had a carpet floor, so I was like, we really need to like get a Swiss Chrono floor in here. And if folks don't know, Swiss Chrono is a manufacturer like right down the street from us. They're a chamber member, and they produce actually the majority of laminate floors for Lowe's and Home Depot. They do like the white labeling production here, right in Barnwell. just a couple miles down the road from us. And so we really wanted to represent that in other industry here. And so finally got them to donate a floor, which is awesome. It's this beautiful floor in here if ever y'all come in. And and then also took the ceiling tiles down. I'm not a fan of drop ceilings. I don't know anyone who's like rah rah like ceiling tiles. So um, I took all the ceiling tiles down and we painted them the kind of branding of the Innovation Center, which I came up with. So it's a multicolored ceiling. You can see a little bit of it actually right behind me
Oh
if
yeah, there
you're
you go.
watching on
Yeah.
video.
Mm-hmm.
And and then got new lighting and just turned it into a space that folks are excited to work in. That's the key. So kind of using those creative skills that I've developed as an artist to really get a space that's open and exciting for folks here in the space. And it's funny, like people walk in, they're like, I feel like I'm in Greenville. Like I'm not in Barnwell. Like, and that was part of the plan here, is to like feel like you're transported somewhere. Doesn't necessarily have to be a big city. It's just you're transported somewhere, and it's this environment that gets you excited about doing the work and creating. So, and it's part of the grant that Don and Terry secured. They got all kinds of equipment. So we have a couple of like cinema cameras for folks to be able to create like high end videos for their businesses. But also, if someone wanted to come in and use that equipment to create a feature length film, they could do that. So I'm actually sitting in our recording booth right now. So this booth it has some sound dampening so that it's not the sound's not bouncing all over the place when you're recording. And folks can record podcasts or they can record other stuff here. We also have editing suite. We have a drone. We have a 3D printer, a laser cutter, a large scale printer. Really bringing that kind of my desire to create and be able to create myself rather than farming it out, really giving that ability to others in the community here, businesses who might be bootstrapping it, who couldn't afford to buy a $7,000 3D printer. They can come here and use it use it for $50 a month
Well,
for
I
their
tell you what
membership.
you've done with the. I saw a lot. It was a pleasure of mine to see the transformation. Day after day, as you were putting in a lot of literally blood, sweat, and probably some tears along the way too during the
Yeah.
transformation and innovation center. It really is a nice place that, like you said, you can really come in and feel transformed and kind of inspired to create. And the resources that you've been able to put together, as a team over the last several years, really bring a lot of valuable resources for our local businesses to really grow and prosper. So talk a little bit about some of the programming over the last year or two that you've done, and then I've got a few specific questions about your vision for the chamber as we move forward, as well. Okay, so let's just talk about some of the programming that you've done and what you guys offer currently.
Yeah, so we started earlier this year actually. So it launched at the beginning of this year, a small business development program. So it's a 12-week course, and folks go through business planning, marketing, and financial management. A heavy portion of that is on marketing because that's my bread and butter. That's where I love to kind of exist. But it's also super important for businesses, and we feel like it's the kind of space that a lot of businesses are lacking in. So we wanted to focus on that. But the program's called Propel Business Lab. Again, with support from the USDA to launch that program, along with actually the county, Barnwell County, with ARPA funds, helped us support that program, along with the Barnwell EDC and SRP Federal Credit Union. So all of those, that kind of mix of funders and support allowed us to kind of develop this program. And so they go through 12 weeks. They go through all the aspects. At the end of the program, they have a fully fledged business plan for their business. They have the skills to be able to do bookkeeping or farm that out if they want. And then most importantly, they have a website and social media presence to really get off the ground and get their business out there. What we found is that the vast majority of businesses here do not have a digital presence. And as we know, like everyone's using this device, the cell phone, like everyone's on that. So
Absolutely.
we have to work in that space and get people like utilizing those tools to expand their reach and get people knowing what they're doing.
And
We've done,
This Propel Business Lab, it's, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not only for people who maybe have a desire one day to start a business. It's also available to businesses who are currently maybe operational, and then also businesses, larger businesses that may want someone to go through that they see has a future in their business.
yeah, that's true. So we have it really runs the spectrum of businesses that are in it. Our first cohort, we had 17 complete that. And really it was like folks who were pre-revenue, who had not had a lick of, owning any experience owning a business, to those who are super experienced, with like a decade of experience in business and aiming to reach the $1 million mark this year with their business. So it really was like all over the place in terms of support. What's really interesting is that the vast majority of the folks starting businesses, and this is actually a national trend as well, it's women, and particularly Black women it is women who are starting businesses. By and large, the majority of new businesses are women. So that is and we're seeing that in our classes, and it's exciting to see all of these like powerful women doing awesome stuff in the community,
Yeah,
and a part of that program. Yeah,
the
go ahead.
energy. I was just going to say the energy, to me at some of just some of the events and seeing some of the highlights. The energy in the room from a lot of those people that you just described is really captivating and motivating for myself, and I think a lot of other people as well.
Yeah, so it is like I actually the first cycle of classes. And the reason I may look like a little sleepy is because like the last 2 days have been classes, so I have like 12-hour days here at the center. But it's really I love being in on the class in every class that I can, just because it's so exciting, the energy. There's lots of laughter. There's folks who are really excited about changing the community, and that inspires me like so much. It drives me to keep doing
Oh
what I'm
yeah,
doing.
for sure. And you mentioned a lot of the collaboration between the county and EDC and USDA and a lot of other people involved. When you talk about a chamber, to me, you really talk about fostering that collaboration and building that stronger community are really key aspects that a chamber needs to do, right? And so
Yeah.
how do you foster that collaboration between businesses, community organizations, local government? How does the chamber kind of bridge that gap and bring everybody together?
Yeah, so we've been doing a lot of work actually with the chamber, in terms of restructuring. When I jumped into the driver's seat in January of this year, was really like aiming to make that connecting, being that connecting tissue in the community. And so we restructured in terms of focusing on core events. So we have now 5 core events that we've developed to foster those relationships. Of course, our annual banquet, which the chamber has been doing for 45 years, so that's not going anywhere. But we have a new event. It's focused on agricultural producers. which the chamber had not really focused on in the past. So we do a blessing of the crops event in the spring, and that was super popular. So that will definitely be coming back next year. And again, being that connecting tissue between agricultural producers, farmers, those interested in ag and tech, and that was a really beautiful dialogue and created a lot of synergy and excitement around that. And then we did a new event also this year that was added even after I kind of structured this program, developed by our director of programs, who's also new as of this year, and Tarek Lee. It's a homegrown leadership summit. And that, again, a lot of energy around that program. We just did that last month, and we'll be launching a new kind of leadership program in at the beginning of next year. That'll be kind of a long-term program, integrated with industry and business with that program. And we're getting a lot of excitement around that. Just again to kind of connect leaders across sectors here. The biggest thing that I've identified here that I want to support on the chamber level is fostering leaders from within the community in industry. Because those leaders ultimately will be the economic drivers in our community. They will be the folks who reinvest in the community. They will sit on the boards of organizations across the community and will be the kind of the drivers in the future. And so we want to create a strategic investment in leadership here. And then we have our State of the Region event, which I'm excited that you'll be speaking on one of the panels for that event.
Yeah, looking forward
And
to that. Looking forward to
that's
that.
one of those events that'll be August 31st, and that's one of those events that we want to have like every year, kind of a cross sector check-in for both Barnwell and Allendale counties. Just talking about the successes and the challenges across these two counties. And so that panel that you'll be sitting on, we'll be addressing issues around housing, which is like huge right now for us. We're to the brim in terms of housing, and we really need new housing development in this area to create really healthy growth. We don't want to get huge, but we want to have sustainable growth in this area, and housing's a big part of that, particularly when it comes to industry and business. And then at the end of the year, we do like a really fun event, barbecue blues and booze. That's the weekend right before Halloween, and it's just a really fun community event. But for us, it's also a way to get folks coming to Barnwell to see what we have to offer. It actually that event brings in about 20% of the audience of that event are coming. They're driving at least 30 minutes or more, coming from outside of the community, coming in to see what we have to offer. And it includes like bands. We'll have like 8 bands. We have barbecue cookers from all over the state that are competing for cash and prizes. And then just a lot of community family fun around that event. So, but yeah, so shaping this, like having this event focused chamber has really like driven our work. And then we're also doing a lot of work supporting businesses in terms of marketing. So giving, we're a partner in a business journal that's regionally focused, that's across the 7-county region, and really marketing all of the businesses that are a part of our chamber and the community. So
Yeah,
yeah.
those events are really, I think, a unique aspect that has really kind of taken off in the last year or two, and under your leadership are continuing to kind of grow and expand. The barbecue blues and booze was I think a really a community community hit, and like you said, getting people to come into our community from outside our community, but then also, you had cookers from all over the state coming in, but we also had a couple good entries from some local cookers as well. That was really neat for me to see. And there's particularly a group from the Blackville area that I thought did an awesome job during the contest. So it was really neat to see.
Yeah, for sure.
So, talking about some of the challenges as you kind of bring these different groups together, and particularly start to address some of the unique challenges that rural America, but specifically Barnwell and Allendale counties face. What are some of the challenges that you see in regards to? Um, let's go first with attracting industry and building business. What are some of the challenges there, and then we'll move to housing because I want to cover that as well.
Yeah. So we're in this predicament in our area. We have these two Goliath towns that are outside of our region, or right in our region, where we're considered part of the CSRA. And we have Aiken and Augusta, and they attract, like rightly so, they attract folks to those areas because of amenities, the school districts, all of those things that exist in that space. They have a Chick-fil-A, which everyone asks about. Like, they have all of those amenities that folks are looking for when they're moving to this area. So, like, if an industry is moving here, they tend to, all of their leadership tends to gravitate to those two towns. And so we really want to create things that'll get some of those leaders into our area, or foster leaders from within. Because, again, we feel like leadership is a core part to kind of driving a community. And so that's been a big, the biggest kind of challenge that I see is like figuring out ways with which we can create some of those amenities, whether it's like through events like the barbecue event, or other kind of programs that people are like, oh, well, they don't have a Chick-fil-A, but they do have this really good barbecue event, like, and maybe, and then they come here, they see like we have a lake in the middle of town, which is really unique. They have, there are other things that create kind of a charming space. And we're working to, as part of the innovation center, part of that work is actually revitalizing downtown, like being in the middle of downtown and creating kind of a vibrant hub here. And once you kind of build some of those pieces, those little pieces, they kind of start to snowball and create a space where it's like, they're like, oh, well, this small town does have some of those things that I want to see when I'm like moving to the area or want to be here, and then it improves everyone, people who are already here, those other amenities, like my wife started a coffee shop here, which, about, with
Yeah.
Accelerator, in the front of the Innovation Center, that has been super popular. We were very surprised but it's one of those amenities that folks like. They're like, we don't have a Starbucks, but we do have this like small community coffee shop that's like awesome, that they love. And we both my wife and I have really felt it. It's been awesome to see it really grow. And it's only been a month, so, but those little pieces, you add all of those things up, and then it does it makes an impact where folks are like, yeah, I want to be here, I want to stay here, so, or I want to come back. So I know for both you and your brother Will, like, y'all went off, y'all explored the world, and then you came back because you
Right.
wanted to invest here.
Yeah, for sure. And for all those listening, it's Accelerator, located downtown
Oh,
Main Street in Barnwell, the coffee shop. Be sure to check it out. The coffee is excellent, but I think the pastries are the specialty, and so it's a good combination that I think a lot of people in the whole community, really in the whole county, are really enjoying there. Yeah, when I started to think about trying to get people to businesses to locate here, retail to locate here, people to live here, there's a lot of different aspects, and I think you touched on an important one, which is quality of life. And so when we say quality of life, that really means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It could mean, the YMCA and the new pool and pickleball. It could mean Sweetwater Country Club. It could mean pickleball over in Blackville now. It could mean the really good frisbee golf in Williston. It could mean all the parks in a lot of these different municipalities. We as a county, we've got a lot of great things to really drive people to quality of life, and particularly we've got a lot of people that are trying to, honestly, really since COVID, I think, move into, and you're frankly, you're one of them, move into
yeah.
the area. And so how do we work on that housing aspect? And sure, we've got people that want to live here, but right now, frankly, if you did want to live in the community, where would you go? Where would you build? So how do you see kind of being that connective tissue? There's a lot of different people. There's a lot of different things that will have to happen. But what role do you see the chamber playing in getting housing opportunities for people to move into our community?
Yeah. I mean, this is the I think one of our biggest challenges, honestly, in the region, particularly right now in Allendale. They're about to have 1,000 job hub with the new tire plant that's coming from Vietnam, and that plant, like they need housing, and I think some of the strategy with the development of that space is that they'll be building some of the housing from for some of the leadership there, but then you also need all the amenities that exist around that. You need somewhere for those people to get gas, to get groceries, all of those things that are important around that. I think what's also, we need to figure out ways with which we're getting private development excited about the region. And I think what we've suffered from is, again, that proximity to Aiken and Augusta, where a private builder can build a house and get that 250 to $300,000 sweet spot that people are both like looking for housing in that range, and then the builder can make some money to incentivize them. We need to figure out ways with which that development, we can create. It might be us like helping to support some kind of incentive program. I don't know what that is, and that's either at the county or the city level, to help foster housing development in the area. Hardyville has been a really good example to kind of look at as to how they've created some incentive to spur development. They've been growing like wildfire. I think that's a whole other thing because they're closer to the coast there, um, but I think that there's some examples regionally, and then nationally, that I think we could look at to kind of help spur some of that. I know also one of our chamber members, Southeastern Housing Authority, they're working on an incentive program with the city here, and I think it'll launch sometime this year, but it'll encourage its incentive program to encourage folks to move here. So it will be a closing cost waiver, essentially. So
Right,
they'll be
right.
able to they'll pay your closing costs if you move here, and you promise you're going to stay here for at least 3 years. So
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting program,
Yeah.
but
And
we need to figure out strategies with which, like, we're also incentivizing the developer side of it, because that's the biggest problem. We don't have the housing stock.
Yeah, for sure.
and
And I know there's a lot of, it's one of those things where, you know, your leadership and the leadership of others in the community, I think it's going to take time to get it done. But, you start thinking about things that could be done now, both immediately, and then also things that we could immediately do to build for the future, as in infrastructure, right? Sewer,
yeah,
water. Broadband is a huge deal throughout the rural America, and so
yeah,
driving that, because those, at the end of the day, those rooftops, when a retailer comes to town to look at a potential location, they're really concerned about the rooftop. So it's a little bit of a chicken and egg when you say,
yeah,
well, people want XYZ here before they access to these different amenities, and sometimes those amenities are many times retail stores, restaurants, things like that. In addition to what we already have to offer here, which I think, frankly, I think we've got some of the best restaurants and offerings here in Barnwell, as can compete with anybody, but it may not be a chain that somebody, from the outside looking in sees, right? Or a store
mhm.
that they see. So as you start looking at that, talk about the retail strategies program that Southern Carolina Alliance and the chamber and the county and kind of the municipalities, everybody kind of getting involved in that retail strategies program. Just give everybody a brief overview of what's going on there and kind of what to look for in the future as we kind of build this out.
Yeah, so that's a program I was fortunate to be a part of as a part of the city of Barnwell. Was invited to be a part of the Retail Strategies class workshop program that Southern Carolina created, and so as a result of that, myself and Lynn at the city, who's our administrator, Lynn McEwen, um, we we really wanted to advocate for us to kind of extend that relationship, but really extend it into the whole county. So not just for the city, and so worked with every local municipality. It was a little juggling to get Williston, Blackville, and Barnwell kind of all on board and buy into us doing some of this work. So everyone kind of has a little bit of skin in the game with that, as well as the county, and then Barnwell EDC. So kind of juggled all of that five-headed beast to get retail strategies here. So we have a agreement with them for the next year that they're seeking out retailers that are national retailers to come here and kind of advocating on our behalf to bring them here. And we are, there are things that I can't talk about right now in terms of what's in the development with that, but there's some big moves that are in the works that I think within the next year we'll see some movement in kind of bigger retailers, particularly one big retailer coming or medium sized retailer coming to the area. That's looking really good because the retailer's looking at incentive programs and the kind of tax credits. They're kind of moving into that next step of
Right.
potentially moving here. But that's kind of the work that retail strategies helps with. They kind of help facilitate that dialogue between municipality and a box retailer or a national retailer that has a bigger presence. And those kind of pieces that the little piece those pieces matter when people are looking at a place. I mentioned Chick-fil-A. I don't want to disappoint people, but Chick-fil-A will probably not come to Barnwell or Allendale just because we're so small. But Chick-fil-A is one of those ones that's like the epitome of that folks want to look for. But there are a lot of other retailers that are and would be interested in the area, and so advocating to those retailers on our behalf, and they are going to advocate for Chick-fil-A too. I will let you know, everyone, they're going to advocate for Chick-fil-A, but I don't want to get anyone's hopes up. So
Well, I tell you, it's to me what kind of turned me on to the program was it's another resource for our municipalities to be able to use when, if they are in conversations with somebody, to be able to use that, and hopefully, like I said, when these things happen, as well as I do, sometimes there's never a done deal or never, and these things take time. And so I think that's what's important for people to understand is there, and I think exciting really is there are things going on. It does take time to get them, but there are people like yourself, like many others in the community, who are focusing on trying to better our community in many different ways. And so I think that's one of the things that really inspires me the most probably about Barnwell County and Allendale as well is you have great leaders who are really trying to step up and trying to go through these programs that you're putting on and really investing in themselves, because the programs that you're putting on to grow these leaders, it's a time commitment that they have to put up as well to grow themselves. And so to me, that's one of the most exciting things is I see a lot of positive momentum and the
Mm-hmm.
train's headed and everybody pulling. Certainly we're never going to agree on 100% of things, but we're all pulling in generally the same direction. And I think that's super important when you start trying to draw in some of these things from, housing development, retail, all that kind of stuff. Now, a few other questions. One other specific question that I've got realizing rural 10 I want to hit you with real quick. But before we get into that, so as someone, we mentioned that you and your wife Dawn moved back some time ago. What really, when you, besides, and I know the house was a big deal for you, obviously located here too, but you had to make a conscious decision. I mean, you could have easily sold that house and moved somewhere else. You chose to live here, right? And you're continuing to choose to live here and to invest in the community. What really excites you and Dawn about Barnwell, about some of the opportunities and some of the growth and development opportunities? Why are you investing here?
Yeah. Well, I I think part of the reason that we moved here is I wanted to kind of see the city through my mom's eyes originally. So like just like what was it that captured her kind of imagination? And I think like what I've really grown to really love about it is getting to know everyone in town. I mean, you are in a small town, so you're going to know everyone and their mother. You know, you're whether for better or worse, they're going to know all your business too. But it's that's been what's really beautiful. And we have friends who visit us, and then you walk down the street, and you'll have like 10 cars honk at you, and everyone that's honking at you.
Yeah.
So that's really beautiful. But also in Barnwell specifically, I mean, where we are, we can walk to the lake. You have this beautiful resource like right in the middle of town. Go fishing or get in a little boat and like hang out on the lake all day. Um, we also have walking distance to grocery store, and everything is like super close. So even the Walmart's like a mile away. So you can go down the street and you can get to the big box stores, and you have this whole strip of stores right here in the middle of town. But then you also have this idyllic downtown that folks who love like Hallmark movies. This is like the quintessential like city circle that town square a lot of people call, but here they call it a circle.
Yeah.
So you gotta be clear. So, but it's this really beautiful part of town. Like yesterday, honestly, so I am terrible about remembering my water bill. Okay, so like and it's not like I don't have the money. I can go pay my water bill and I just forget. And then like every other month I'll get a call from the town hall. They'll be like, "This is just a courtesy call. I'm just calling to let you know that you forgot to pay your water bill." I'm like, "Oh my god." But like where else in town are you going to where else in the world are you going to be able to have that kind of community connection? Or like we live across the street from Enterprise Bank, and Tammy at the bank the other day called me because she thought my dog was out. So she was like, "Hey, I think your dog's like walking the street." It wasn't my dog; it was someone else's dog. But like again, it's like, you're not going to have that kind of community as you get into a bigger city. And that really has captured us and made us want to kind of invest and kind of dig more into our roots here.
Yeah, that sense of community. Will and I talked about that on episode one. The sense of community. That's really what kind of brought us back, and just the fact of you need a UPS pickup. Well, you know them. One of my favorite things to do is when we bring visitors into town for work. Go to Country Cupboard or Yanni's or Eat Street or wherever, and you
Yep.
walk in and over half the people in the building. It really kind of spooks people. I mean,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
really it really gets to them a little bit. So that's one of my favorite.
Sure.
That's one of my all time favorite things to do is to bring a visitor into town and just the
Yeah.
sense of community, right? I mean, it really does make a big deal. And
Yeah,
so
well, actually, with that the UPS thing, I have another story with that. Like so we were doing the barbecue event, and I had the printers had messed up one of the signs for the event, and so it was the day of we were setting up the event. It's like it's the marquee like sign, and it had been messed up, and so I like had them overnight a new print of it, and the UPS driver like she saw that we were closed, and so then she looked because she saw it was like a first day overnight, so it's like a really important package. So she saw we were closed at the chamber office, and she looked up on Facebook like what we were doing, and then like went to the event and brought us the sign. I didn't communicate at all with them.
that's awesome.
She was
Yeah, yeah.
like I saw y'all were doing the barbecue event, and I figured this would be important today. It was kind of amazing. So,
Yeah.
and there is no way I would have ever in New Orleans when we were living there, or Charleston, even there, like that UPS driver would have moved on with their day, and it would have gotten punted to the next day. There's no way it would have gotten to us. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and yeah, for sure, no doubt. And then the other thing too that you mentioned earlier, which I think is important as well, is the distance of travel, right? So, when I've lived in other places, and I know you in New Orleans particularly, like, if you and that's one of the things I'm really proud about the YMCA and some of the things that they're doing there with the pool and pickleball and Sweetwater and things that may be located in Barnwell, proper, but they're accessible to people from Blackville, people in Williston, and it's not in Allendale for that matter. And it's not that far of a drive because if you get in your car in New Orleans and you drive, you're trying to go to the YMCA, well, it's 30 minutes anyway. So you're driving a little further, but your actual travel time to these resources in a rural area, I think is a kind of a neat thing. And I like it that it's predictable too, right? It's not going to be an hour tomorrow. It's 20 minutes today and it's 20 minutes tomorrow. So that's one of the
Yeah.
things I like.
Yeah, for sure.
Very interesting. So, all right. So here we go. This is the Realizing Rural 10. So just quick answers, whatever pops in your head. It's going to be a little bit of stuff about rural life, a little bit of stuff about you. So just no right or wrong answer here. Just
Okay.
whatever comes to you. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So here we go. Realizing Rural 10. What is one thing you love most about rural areas?
Small town vibes.
How do you recharge and find inspiration in your daily life?
Sleep.
Not much of that these days, right?
No, not much of that right now.
What is your favorite outdoor activity or hobby?
Fishing
Awesome.
and
Uh,
camping.
what is one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Oh, that is a good question. So, what would I give my younger self? Um, uh, just keep going. Like
Yeah.
that's yeah. Don't when it's rough. It's gonna get better no matter what.
Yeah. Awesome. What is your favorite movie or TV show and why?
Ooh, favorite movie or TV show. So we watch a lot of like that's sort of an unwinding thing that Dawn and I do a lot is watching TV stuff.
Okay.
So what's one that's right now? I actually, Somebody Somewhere is a really awesome show right now. It's a really like short show. It's on HBO Max. I'm really loving that show right now. But it has like there's 8 episodes a season, and they're like 30-minute episodes, and they're too short. But it's all about like living in this. I think it's Manhattan, Kansas. It's this like small town
Okay.
where this comedian has kind of moved back to town after being away, and it just reminds me a lot of our kind of life now, and I've really enjoyed that show a lot.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
have to check it out.
yeah.
What is one misconception about rural life that you would like to dispel?
Oh man, we're not all poor.
What is one?
Like
Yeah,
yeah,
no, yeah, a
yeah,
lot of great assets and resources and things right
exactly.
here
Yeah,
in
yeah,
rural, South Carolina that a lot of people I think, frankly, don't know about for sure.
exactly.
What is one thing you believe our community needs to thrive and grow?
Uh, we need more housing and leadership development.
Share a personal or professional accomplishment that you are particularly proud of. Brag on yourself a little bit, Bob.
Okay, okay. I was executive producer on a project called Slave Rebellion Reenactment, which was reenacting the largest rebellion of enslaved people in North American history, which was 500 people at its height. That was right outside of New Orleans. It was a multi-million-dollar project. It consumed my life for 5 years, and I'm glad I'm not doing it now, but it was a beautiful project.
Is there a specific quote or mantra that you particularly live by?
Yeah. So let go or you'll be dragged.
Awesome. Awesome. And then lastly, share a piece of advice that somebody else has given you that's had a profound impact on your life.
Oh, man. Well, I didn't take it, but it was like not going to grad school. And I'm glad I didn't take that advice. Um, and and I think the other advice has been to for folks here has been invest in this community, and you'll see dividends, and I have really seen that. So it's been beautiful to see that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Bob, we really appreciate your time and taking the time to come on Realizing Rural. We really appreciate everything that you and Dawn are doing for our community here, and specifically the chamber, all the great initiatives that the board and the direction that the board is taking the chamber and the Palmetto Innovation Center, all the programming in Barnwell, Allendale, a lot of great things ahead. We look forward to checking in with you maybe in a 6 months or year or so, and seeing all the great progress that has been made at that time. And we appreciate your time today.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.